Hey there, welcome back. You're at the Thrifty Journal Shop. My name's Amber. If you are new here, welcome. I'm so happy you stopped by today. All right, today I'm going to share a little project with you. I'm going to walk you through some of the steps. I'm going to try to keep this video somewhat short and to the point, but I wanted to show you my latest creation that I made. You guys that have been around for a while, you know, like one of my favorite items to use is paper bags. I use them a lot for my covers. I cover them with fabric. I do all sorts of things with paper bags. So I made this really cool paper bag journal, and I really love the way that it turned out. And so what I did for this journal and all of the papers, which I'm going to show you some of the papers inside, but I wanted to just show you some first here. I just wanted to show you all of the brightness and the color. So I used food coloring. I've had this idea in my head for a while. I'm not the first person to think of it. I know that. I had seen, I think last spring, some creators using food coloring from like an Easter egg dyeing kits. And I just didn't get the chance to do that last year. Isn't that beautiful? So I thought, all right, I'm going to give it a whirl. And so this past weekend, I just sprayed a bunch of papers, and I'm going to show you that technique. And really, if you are looking for a cost-effective way to just make some colored paper, you can use any kind of papers. I use music paper. I use thin copy paper. I used heavy copy paper. I love using music paper. I think I used some papers from some craft book. And I just created all of these beautiful, colorful, unique papers. This is the bottom of the paper sack. And so what's nice about this is you can lay out a bunch of papers, you can spray them all down, you can add more color. These dry relatively fast. I even did some coffee spraying, which turned out interesting, and I'll get into that later on. So these are just some of the papers that I made. And for this technique here, I sort of dribbled the food coloring on and kind of rolled it around. I'll try and maybe get that effect on this video. We will see. Isn't that pretty? And what's nice about this technique is because you're spritzing and you're using a lot of water in there, it will bleed through the back a little bit. So you don't always have to do the back. Like if you want color on the front and the back, you know, when you do acrylic paint, you've got to paint, let it dry, flip it over. But some of these, because I soaked them so much, they bled through the back like this one. Okay, so I just created all of these beautiful papers, and I put 3 signatures in this journal. And this was really simple to do because I just took the pages and I just folded them in half and I stuck them in the journal. I didn't have to cut anything down. I didn't measure anything for this. I didn't add any fabrics to the journal besides here on the cover. So I am just going to show you a few things inside. This is going to be a very bright journal. This is what the inside looks like. And I just love that sort of sprayed effect and the dribble effect there. Here's just a journaling card I made. I've been using a lot of junk mail and this acrylic paint. This is just a children's book page. And what's nice about these papers is I feel that they're sort of a work of art in themselves, and I don't really want to cover them up the whole page. So I might just add things here or there. This is a book jacket to the music paper. Just they're all so unique. I made a belly band here with part of the paper sack, and these are just some offcuts of the hearts. I love how you can see that color there. I won't flip through the whole thing. I just want to show you some of the colors there. Isn't that beautiful? And then here is a waterfall envelope pocket layover thing that I made. I don't know the correct name for it. You can just lay that over a page, or you could glue it. If you're interested in seeing how I made this, leave a comment down below, and maybe I'll cover that when I do the final flip through. But it's just junk mail envelopes, and I did a lot of collaging. I left little pockets here. This is some fabric. This is part of my tea bag. This is more fabric. Just using my scraps. So here is some coffee dyed paper. I did do some regular coffee dyeing, which, guys, I'm really not that crazy about. A couple reasons. I love coffee. I love the smell of my own coffee, but for some reason, the coffee dyed papers got a little bit of a weird smell. However, this is 4 days after I've done this, and I don't smell that coffee smell anymore. And it just takes forever to dry if you soak it in the pan. And I had my oven on, and I was worried I was going to burn my house down. So I did do some spray technique, and it was much better, and I will show you that. So I just wanted to share. This is a pretty pocket I made with a cardinal and a security envelope. Some of these bright pages in here. And then some of them are very subtle. And this is some really cheap paper, but I like that look. There's the dribble effect. And then here's a cute tag that I made. This is me just playing around with more junk mail, and I'm trying to work on my faces and drawing my trashy dolls and the trashy paper dolls. And I just drew her. She's got a little hat on, and this is another junk mail piece. And I just made a little fabric skirt, fabric trim from Carrie. And then I just made some pockets. And then that's the back. So that is the paper bag journal. I'm just in love with it. I will probably make a couple if people are interested. And I'm probably going to put a few in my Etsy shop along with my fabric journals. I'll probably put a few on the Maker's Market and might do some different sizes. Okay, now I'm going to show you how I created the cover, and I'm going to spray some papers with you also. And I'm not going to cut the paper bag on camera, but I'm going to tell you what I did. I just cut along here, okay, on each side. And I cut the bottom out. Keep the bottom because I use the bottom in the journal. You can do other projects with the bottom and pull the handles off. At some point, I'd like to make one with handles. I had a few that I sold, and I really thought they were cute. You could carry them like a little bag. So keep your handles if you want, or recycle them. So when you cut it all apart, it's going to look like this. Now, this was me just kind of playing around again, just spraying and stuff. And so you'll have this really large paper sack. And what you're going to do is you're just going to fold it in half. Okay? And then you're going to fold it in half again. So this is your cover, and it's doubled up. Then what I did, because I didn't want to cut all it off and I didn't want to measure, I brought this up and folded it here. This is where sometimes if I'm making them for myself, I like all this unevenness, but this is where you can get your scissors, your paper trimmer, you can cut, you can have everything be nice and even. I like the wonkiness, like here, it's a little wonky, okay? I like that look. It's just how I roll, but you can clean this up if you want, okay? And then you're going to fold it like this. Now, honestly, I'd probably cut this off a little bit here. What I did for the spine, though, is I took a paper towel roll. I mentioned this in my other video with my fabric journals. I'll link that video down below. I just took the paper towel roll and cut it and basically just slid it in here, just so it gives your spine a little bit of support. If you don't have a paper towel roll, you could just use more paper sack. You could use some recycled, maybe a lightweight chipboard. You don't even have to reinforce the spine. I just like to. Plus, I like the curvature of the paper towel roll. Okay, so I slid the paper towel roll in there, and then I sewed all around it. Sewed the pockets. Obviously, I just sewed the pockets here, in here. I didn't sew it shut here. If you don't sew or you don't have a sewing machine, glue it all. Okay, You can even use your stapler. So then you're going to have your cover. And if you want to cut some of this off and make the pockets a little smaller or the journal a little smaller, go right ahead. Okay, so that's how I made the cover. It was that easy. All right, now let's make some papers. And the only thing I'm doing differently this time around, and I've already sprayed some because I want to show you what they look like doing my technique today, which is basically the same thing, but I didn't want to wait forever for those to dry. I mean, I'll stop the camera and come back. The only thing that I'm doing differently this time, okay, is that I went to the Dollar General and bought some bottles because I wanted to have all the colors. So I've got my coffee here. I just went ahead and labeled them. I've got yellow, I've got red, I've got blue, and I've got green. I didn't measure. I just squirted some food coloring in, threw some water in. I'm going to play around. I guess if I want it brighter, I'll add more food coloring. Okay, so this is the only thing I'm doing differently, is that I've got 5 bottles to play with versus 1. And I did pull a few little petri dishes that I might add some water and food coloring and do the dribble effect. All right, I'm going to get all set up and I'll be back. Coloring. So grab your food coloring. If you have some squirter bottles, okay, you're going to need a pan too. I did this in my kitchen, but now I'm out in my shop. And so you're going to need something if you're to just let your papers kind of dribble off before you set them to dry. You might want a couple rags, some paper towel, and then whatever kind of papers you want. Okay, I've got some heavier weight white paper. I've got some really cheap, that white copy paper I talked about. And I've got some music paper and some craft paper. Since I don't have as much space as I did in my kitchen, what I did in my kitchen was I had a towel on my counter and I laid out, I think, 8 pages. I think I'm only going to do 3 here just for space. So this was what was nice, is that you could do more than 1 page at one time. You could spray them, shake them off, and then put them someplace to dry and kind of reassemble. So I made lots of papers in a shorter period of time, and it didn't take long to dry. So I've got red here, and what I did was I just sprayed it. Now, for some of these, I did sort of do this. I did the dribble effect. Some of them, I did some of this. I did some blotting techniques. All right, so you have more of that look. Now, I didn't really overthink it. So some of these I did just maybe one color. I let them dry, and then I went back and added another color. These we're going to add more than one color. So I've got blue and red. You could make purple too, just by adding blue and red of the food coloring together. I think I tried that, and it did sort of turn out. Then if you want, just shake it off a bit, okay? And you could add more colors. I sort of like that look. You could also just dab some paper towel too, if you wanted to. I'm going to add a little yellow. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these and let these dry. All right. Another thing is you don't want to add too many colors at one time, because then you might end up with like a brown mess. So maybe red, then maybe some blue or yellow or whatever, 2 colors, let it dry, and then maybe spray it again. I think that I'm going to add a little bit more food coloring. I did spray just this piece right here. I'm just using straight up, this is my heavier weight copy paper. I just added, I don't know, 3 or 4 more squirts to it. All right, let's see what happens here. And I'm just gonna let it drip on this page. So sometimes you really do have to spray quite a bit, and then your paper is gonna be pretty wet, but that's okay. I'm letting it drip on this piece of paper. All right, we have that look. I'm gonna squirt a little bit of blue. All right, and I am just gonna spray. Okay, and I'm gonna let that one dry. See, this is pretty watery today. This is an experiment. We're experimenting today. The key to it is really to make sure that you have a way to get off some of the runoffs, because it does sort of pool when you spray it. Let's add some green. That's coffee. All right, we're going to try the dribble effect. All right, what I have here is just a little dish of water, and I am just going to add some food coloring. I'm going to choose blue. I'm going to add like 3 drops. Just mix that up a bit. Might add a few more. Add just 1 more. All right, I'm going to add a little red, and then I'm going to take a little blue. And that's all I did, was I pulled it on there. I did some of that. And I shook it off in my extra. Might add a little more. Let's use yellow. Well, let's see. Now we're going to add some of the blue. And I'm going to just pour it right back into this dish. So you kind of get that runoff look. Now, of course, this is a different day, different temperature. I'm out in my shop, probably different water ratios. We're going to let those dry, and we'll move on. We'll do some coffee sprays and see how the coffee sprays turn out. And then I'm going to show you what everything looks like dry. All right, we're going to do some coffee spraying and see how it turns out. And I am just going to hold this over this pan. You could very well just soak it in the coffee if you like that way better. Okay. I'll let that dry. And now I'm just going to spray a bunch at the same time. And if you wanted to, you could add color to the coffee too. dump this in there. I'm going to make sure this is sprayed really well. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go lay all this out and let it dry. I'm going to let everything dry, and then I'm going to come back and show you what things look like compared to what I did from the day before. Okay, guys, it's actually the next day. I let all of these papers that we did yesterday dry overnight. It just got late in the day, and then I didn't really have the best light for filming. So I just wanted to show you how some of these turned out. This is some of the coffee dyed that I did, or coffee sprayed, and then I did spray some color on. So what I discovered this time around is that these colors are a lot more subtle. They're not as bright as some of the other ones, and I think that had a lot to do with the fact that I used a larger squirter bottle with more water versus my tiny little bottle that was pretty strong with the food coloring versus the water. So you're just going to have to play around with the watercolor mixture and just, play around with it. I like the lighter papers. I like the darker papers. It's kind of nice to have a variety. Isn't that just beautiful? And then I didn't do anything to the back of this one. So that's how it is, just with it bleeding through. Let's see some of the coffee dye. That one turned out beautiful. Okay, so some of that was the dribble effect that I did. I did pour, remember when I poured the dish and kind of slopped it around a little bit? That's what it looked like. This is a brighter page. So what I did when I was letting them dry, almost dry, I went back through and just added some more color to them. That's what kind of gave it the darker look, or just more of a rainbow-like effect. That one's really pretty too, because that's really subtle. Then this is the coffee dyed. And as you can see, you can see the coffee dye-ness to it. It gives it probably a different look than if you're going to straight up coffee dye and soak your papers in coffee or tea. I don't know how you guys do it. I like using this effect with the squirter bottle because it dries so much faster. You can do a batch making session all at once. And then, you can kind of crank out the papers and do quite a few at one time. And then there's some more coffee dyed. This is just got some color on it, probably just for me stacking them on top of each other. So they turned out good. They turned out really pretty. I like the subtleness of them. It'll be interesting to see what happens here. I'm going to keep creating papers and I'll keep you updated. I've got all the food coloring sitting in the bottles and it's just sitting there. So it'll be interesting to see, like, over time, if it sits in water, if it dilutes itself. I don't really know a whole lot. I've just used food coloring for dyeing Easter eggs. But I just think these turned out really pretty. And one more thing, guys, I wanted to show you. These were the paper bags that I had cut down and I had laying on my towel, and I was just setting the papers on top of them. And look how that turned out. Now I will probably go through and add some more color, but that is just really pretty. So keep your backdrop papers, your background papers that you use to lay down and work on, because a lot of times they themselves are works of art. This one definitely needs some more color, but this one looks really pretty. And you could also use these to do some collaging. I'm thinking about doing that, taking some of these and then adding some collage. So I will keep you updated on that also. Well, guys, I hope that this gave you some inspiration and some ideas. If you are looking to make your own handmade, colorful, cost-effective, fun, unique papers, I am very interested. If you've ever tried this before, if you've ever used food coloring, dyeing your papers, or the coffee spray technique, or if you do try it. If you have any other questions or comments, please leave them in the description box. And feel free to leave comments down below if there are things that you would like to see me do. on, on this channel. I am always open to suggestions and ideas. If you are interested in doing like a springish Easter journal, we can do that. I love when you leave comments of things you are working on or techniques that you've tried. And I hope this just like sparks some creativity and you find some food coloring and spray away. All right, everyone, have a very Merry Christmas. I hope you are enjoying December. Get outside, enjoy some weather, and find some time to be creative for yourself and stay cozy. All right, I will see you real soon. Thanks so much for watching.